Ever heard of a bike that was so wild, so razor sharp, that entire countries ended up banning it from being sold new? Yeah, that's the Yamaha R6. On the surface, it's just another 600cc supersport, but the truth? It's a legend. A bike that rewrote the rules, scared governments, and made riders addicted to the feeling of chasing that red line. And today, we're uncovering the truth about the most famous 600cc bike ever built. This isn't just about specs. This is about the stories, the myths, and the reality that most riders never get to see. Strap in, because what you'll hear might just change how you look at sport bikes forever. And hopefully, by the end of this video, you will know if the Yamaha R6 is the right bike for you. Let's start with the heart of the R6, something that made it different from every other bike in its class. The R6 was built for one purpose: racing. Unlike many sport bikes that try to balance road manners with racetrack potential, the Yamaha R6 has always been unapologetic about its mission. From day one, it was designed to be uncompromising. It wasn't built for comfort. It wasn't built for commuting. It was born for one thing: the circuit. When Yamaha unveiled the R6 in 1999, they weren't just introducing another middleweight machine, they were unleashing a weapon. The chassis was razor sharp. The engine screamed at the top of the rev range, and the riding position forced you into an aggressive tuck. It made casual riders think twice, but for those with racing in their blood, it felt like destiny. This was what separated the R6 from its rivals. The Kawasaki ZX6R and Honda CBR 600RR were incredible performers, no doubt, but they always carried a hint of compromise, a nod toward everyday usability. The R6 didn't bother. If you wanted comfort, Yamaha basically told you to look elsewhere. The R6 wasn't interested in making friends. It wanted to win. And win it did. The 1999 launch was nothing short of historic. It was the first 600cc production motorcycle to break the 120 horsepower barrier. In the late 90s, that number was unheard of. Riders immediately dubbed it a mini Roan, a smaller sibling to Yamaha's flagship litter bike, but with its own raw, untamed personality. Magazines at the time praised it for its race bike DNA in a street shell. Track riders were stunned by how much precision Yamaha had packed into a middleweight. Suddenly, the 600cc class wasn't just about being affordable, it was about being deadly fast. Yamaha's goal was clear: dominate world supersport, and the R6 delivered. Over the years, it became the benchmark in the class, a bike so sharp and single-minded that it earned a reputation not just as a motorcycle, but as a scalpel for carving corners. But of course, that laser focus came with a dark side, because with that kind of intensity, the R6 isn't exactly friendly. But before I can explain why, I need you to first race to the subscribe button, as I noticed 99% of you aren't subscribed, and with your help, I will one day buy my own motorcycle from making these videos you enjoy watching. But if you're like me and have also never owned a bike before, you might have to look elsewhere, because the R6 is unforgiving for beginners. Let's cut through the noise here. Could a new rider technically learn on an R6? Yes, it's possible. But should they? Almost never. And the reasons why become crystal clear the moment you throw a leg over one. The Yamaha R6 has an engine that doesn't really wake up until it's screaming past 10,000 RPM. Below that, it feels almost bored, sluggish, restrained, like it's waiting for you to unleash it. But once you cross into that power band, the bike transforms. The motor explodes with ferocity, launching you forward in a surge of speed that's equal parts exhilarating and terrifying. For an experienced rider, this is thrilling. It's what makes the R6 addictive. But for a beginner, it's a trap. That sudden surge of power leaves almost no margin for error. If your throttle hand isn't perfectly smooth, the bike reacts sharply. If your corner entry is sloppy, the aggressive chassis setup can feel twitchy and unstable. It doesn't hold your hand. It exposes every mistake. And this can be really scary if you're just starting out. I wouldn't recommend this bike to anyone under level 4 riding skills. If you are unsure what level you're on, I made a video for you to know just where you place, and I'll link it at the end of this video. But man, the way this bike exposes every single one of your flaws? Brutal. This is exactly why so many new riders crash their R6s. Not because the bike is poorly designed, but because it demands perfection from the person riding it. Unlike a Ninja 400 or a CBR 500R, which offer more forgiving power delivery and neutral handling, the R6 expects you to already have skill, discipline, and confidence. Without those, it can feel more like a fight than a ride. And yet, despite this harsh truth, beginners are still drawn to it. The styling is intoxicating. The reputation as a real rider's bike is irresistible. The sound of that engine hitting redline feels like something out of a dream. For many new riders, buying an R6 feels like skipping the line straight into the big leagues. But if you're a beginner and you're like, yeah, I get that it's hard for other beginners, but I'm different, let me say it very clearly. This is not for you. That's why motorcycle forums are constantly filled with debates. Can I start on an R6? The veterans almost always shout no. But every generation, a handful of new riders ignore the warnings, buy one anyway, and often learn the hard way. And yet, despite this, many beginners still lust after it. And if you're wondering why, I kinda get it. The styling made it a rock star. Before you even hit the starter button, the Yamaha R6 wins people over with its looks. It doesn't just look like a motorcycle, it looks like a predator waiting to strike. From the razor-sharp fairings to the narrow, low-slung headlights that glare like eyes in attack mode, everything about the R6 screams aggression. It's the kind of design that makes bystanders pause, even when the bike is parked and silent. What's wild is how timeless that look has proven to be. Even older generations of the R6 still hold up today. Put a 2006 model side by side with modern sport bikes, and it doesn't feel outdated. It still looks futuristic, lean, and menacing. That's a testament to Yamaha's design language. They weren't chasing trends, they were setting them. The R6 had a style that made it instantly recognizable, even to people who couldn't tell a 600 from a litter bike. Guys, I hate to say it, but when it comes to legacy, the Japanese know what they are doing. And then there's the paint. That deep Yamaha racing blue became almost synonymous with the R6 itself. It wasn't just a color, it was a declaration. A nod to the factory race teams that carried Yamaha to victories in MotoGP, World Superbike, and World Supersport. To own a blue R6 was to feel like you were a small part of that same racing heritage. Of course, special editions and custom paint schemes added flair, but the blue always remained iconic. But here's the real truth. The R6's design wasn't just for show. Yamaha poured their racing DNA straight into the bodywork. Every line and every curve was aerodynamic, designed to slice through the air and reduce drag. The ram air intake wasn't a styling gimmick. It actually funneled high-pressure air into the engine at speed, squeezing out extra horsepower when it mattered most. That's why so many riders didn't just ride an R6, they worshipped it. Posters covered bedroom walls. Screensavers glowed with its silhouette. The R6 wasn't just a machine you admired. It was a piece of rolling artwork that embodied speed, aggression, and beauty all in one. And it worked. Which brings us to something every R6 rider secretly loves to brag about. And man, I can't blame them. The engine sings like nothing else. If there's one thing that truly defines the Yamaha R6, it's the way it sounds when it's doing what it was built for. At idle, it hums and purrs like any other inline-4 sport bike. Smooth, contained, almost polite. But twist the throttle, let the revs climb past 14,000 RPM, and suddenly the machine transforms into something otherworldly. It's not just noise, it's music. A high-pitched wail that sits somewhere between a Formula One car and a fighter jet. Half symphony, half battle cry. The kind of sound that pierces through mountainsides, echoes in tunnels, and turns heads blocks away. People who don't know anything about motorcycles hear an R6 at full song and instinctively know they're listening to something special. This isn't a happy accident. The R6 was engineered with a short-stroke, high-revving engine specifically designed to live at the upper end of the tachometer. Yamaha knew that keeping the pistons light and the bore wide would allow the motor to spin to astronomical heights. At peak, it revs higher than most cars could even dream of, and it begs you to keep it there. Riders often compare it to an addiction. You wait for the hit of power as the revs build, and once it arrives, you can't help but chase it again and again. Track riders describe it as addictive, the kind of sensation that makes every lap feel like a rush of adrenaline and precision mixed together. Even today, with newer bikes on the market, very few replicate that exact shriek. The sound has become part of the R6's legend. And it's not just for the rider. For spectators, the R6 has always been one of the most exciting bikes to hear trackside. Among a grid full of screaming 600s, the Yamaha always stood out with its piercing howl. Now look, I understand the confusion. I'm telling you not to get one while also talking about how awesome it is to ride it, how it makes you look like a MotoGP professional, how it sounds incredible, and how amazing it looks even when it's parked. This all might have you thinking, well, I'm sold. Take my money. Hold on, cowboy. Just as I love talking about the upsides, there are plenty of downsides. And for the R6, daily riding is a struggle. Let's be brutally honest. Riding a Yamaha R6 on the street can feel more like punishment than pleasure. Everything about its DNA screams racetrack. And when you try to cram that attitude into a daily routine of commutes, errands, and traffic lights, you quickly find out just how little compromise the R6 is willing to make. The aggressive clip-on handlebars lock your wrists at a sharp downward angle. Within 20 minutes of weaving through city streets, you're already shifting your grip and shaking your hands, trying to stop the numbness from setting in. The seat? It's less of a cushion and more of a perch, built narrow and stiff to keep you locked in place on the track, not to cradle you during a 40-minute commute. Pair that with high rear-set foot pegs that crunch your knees into a racer's crouch, and it feels less like a comfortable ride and more like an extreme yoga session you never signed up for. Then there's the suspension. On glass-smooth racetrack asphalt, it's phenomenal, planted, precise, and confidence-inspiring, allowing you to carve through corners with millimeter accuracy. But the moment you hit real-world pavement with potholes, uneven patches, and road debris, it feels harsh and punishing. Every bump, every crack in the road sends feedback straight through your body. Instead of soaking up imperfections, the R6 seems to amplify them. Add to that the heat management, or lack of it. The R6 runs hot, and in summer traffic, it runs very hot. Sit in stop-and-go congestion with the cooling fan whirring, and your legs will feel like they're parked next to a barbecue grill. Riders often joke that the R6 teaches you to avoid traffic not just for sanity, but for survival. And then we get to the engine. As magical as it is at high RPM, it feels awkward at city speeds. At 40 or 50 RPM, it's sluggish, almost resentful, like it doesn't even want to be there. The bike doesn't truly come alive until you twist the throttle hard and let it scream into 5 digits on the tack. That's exhilarating on a mountain pass or canyon run, but miserable when you're stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic. This is why so many R6 owners admit the same thing. Try to use it as a commuter, and you'll either sell it quickly or reserve it strictly for weekends and track days. The R6 doesn't bend to your schedule. You have to bend to its purpose. But there's another truth here, and this one explains why, despite the discomfort, so many riders still choose it. On the track, it's a weapon. Take the R6 out of traffic and drop it on a racetrack, and suddenly everything makes sense. The bike that feels punishing and twitchy in the city transforms into something close to perfection when unleashed in its natural habitat. Every choice Yamaha made, every compromise to comfort, every ounce of aggression comes together here. The aggressive ergonomics that make commuting a chore? They're perfect for tucking in at high speed, keeping your body low and aerodynamic as you scream down a straightaway. The stiff suspension that feels harsh on potholes? Exactly what you need to carve corners with surgical precision, holding the line even when you're pushing deep into lean angles. And the engine that feels weak at low RPM? On track, it's alive, screaming at redline, begging to be pushed, and delivering power exactly where you want it. On track days, the R6 feels like a living, breathing extension of its rider. It's predictable, balanced, and brutally honest. If your technique is sloppy, the bike will let you know. If you nail a perfect line, it rewards you with stability and speed that make you feel unstoppable. That's why experienced riders describe the R6 as a teacher. It forces you to improve. This DNA is exactly why the R6 has dominated supersport championships around the globe. In World Supersport, it collected over 100 race wins and multiple world titles. Riders like Cal Crutchlow, Kenan Sofuolu, and Lucas Mejias cemented its reputation by proving, year after year, what the machine was capable of against the toughest competition. For amateur riders, the R6 has long been the default choice for track schools, racing clubs, and serious track day enthusiasts. Why? Because it's consistent, reliable, and razor-sharp. Unlike some bikes that surprise you with quirks or compromises, the R6 tells you exactly what's happening. It doesn't flatter you. It demands skill. But if you bring that skill, it delivers in a way few machines ever can. And that's why, even as a street bike, riders always knew the truth. The R6 was never built for the road. It was built for war on the racetrack. But that word technically brings us to another painful truth. The R6 is gone from showrooms. Here's where the story takes a dramatic twist. For over 2 decades, the Yamaha R6 was the crown jewel of the 600cc Supersport class. Riders lined up to get their hands on one, and dealerships moved them as fast as they arrived. It wasn't just a bike, it was the bike in its category. Then, in 2020, Yamaha shocked the motorcycle world with a bombshell announcement. The R6 would no longer be sold as a road bike. The culprit? Euro 5 emissions regulations. These stricter rules demanded cleaner, more environmentally friendly engines. To bring the R6 into compliance, Yamaha would have had to completely re-engineer its high-revving motor, an expensive, time-consuming gamble at a time when sales of supersport bikes were already shrinking worldwide. Instead of pouring millions into redesign, Yamaha made a decision few expected. They pulled the plug. Almost overnight, the R6 vanished from dealerships. No more brand new models fitted with headlights, mirrors, and license plate holders. In its place, Yamaha introduced the R6 Race, a stripped-down, track-only machine with no road-legal equipment, no turn signals, no registration, no compromises. It was Yamaha sending a clear message. The R6 wasn't gone. It was just returning to its true home, the racetrack. For street riders, this changed everything. Suddenly, the only way to own an R6 was to buy used. And as demand surged, so did prices. Clean, low-mileage examples became harder and harder to find. Listings disappeared within days, and sellers quickly realized they were holding on to something special. Overnight, the R6 went from being a bike you could finance off the showroom floor to a future classic commanding a premium. Today, the R6 is more than just a motorcycle. It's a collector's item. Owners who have one rarely let them go, and those who missed their chance chase them like rare treasures. The cult around the R6 has only grown since its disappearance, turning it from a sport bike you could once casually buy into a legend you have to fight to own. But does that mean buying one is still worth it? It can be worth a fortune one day. Well, that's where things get interesting. The R6 maintenance is not for the lazy. If you're thinking about owning a Yamaha R6, you need to accept something up front. This bike is not a low-maintenance machine. It isn't the type of motorcycle you can neglect, park for months, and then expect to fire up without a problem. The R6 was engineered as a high-performance tool, and just like a race car, it asks for your attention. That screaming inline-4 revs higher than almost any production motor in its class. Running consistently above 14, 0 RPM puts stress on everything: bearings, valves, pistons, cooling systems. It's not fragile, but it's demanding. Regular oil changes aren't just a suggestion, they're non-negotiable. Skip them, and the engine will let you know in ways you won't enjoy. Valve clearances are another headache for casual owners. On a commuter bike, you might go years without touching them. On the R6, checks need to happen more frequently, and adjusting them isn't cheap if you don't do it yourself. Chains stretch faster when you're hammering the throttle. Clutches wear quicker with aggressive downshifts and hard launches. Even coolant needs more attention because the R6 runs hot, especially in traffic. This is why so many veteran riders say the R6 is not for the lazy. It rewards discipline, not just in how you ride it, but in how you care for it. Neglect even one part of the maintenance schedule, and the repair bill can be brutal. But here's the good news. When treated right, the R6 is nearly bulletproof. Yamaha's engineering is top tier. That's why riding schools and race teams put thousands of hard miles on them and keep them running strong. The truth is simple. Take care of an R6, and it will take care of you. Cut corners, and it'll make you pay. But speaking of expensive, let's talk about another truth. Insurance and running costs bite hard. One of the most overlooked truths about the Yamaha R6 is this: it's not just the purchase price you need to worry about. Owning one is like signing up for a lifestyle, and that lifestyle comes with a cost. Many riders, especially those buying their first supersport, don't realize how quickly the bills start piling up. Insurance is usually the first shock. Because the R6 is categorized as a high-risk motorcycle, premiums are often sky-high, particularly for younger riders under 25. Insurers know the R6's reputation. It's fast, it's unforgiving, and yes, it's one of the most frequently crashed bikes in the 600cc class. That history means companies charge accordingly, and for some riders, the insurance bill can rival a car payment. But it doesn't stop there. The R6 is hard on consumables. The aggressive nature of the bike means you'll chew through tires faster than you expect, especially if you ride it the way it begs to be ridden, leaning hard, braking late, and accelerating out of corners. A fresh set of quality sport tires isn't cheap, and you may find yourself needing replacements more than once a season. Brakes are another cost. Hard riding eats through pads and rotors faster than casual commuting ever would. And then there's fuel. The R6 isn't a gas guzzler by car standards, but it demands premium fuel, and its high-revving nature means you'll visit the pump often if you're constantly chasing redline. Add it all up: insurance, tires, brakes, fuel, regular maintenance, and you start to see the true cost of ownership. It's not a bike you buy just because you like the look. You need commitment, both as a rider and as a wallet. And yet, despite all of that, people still chase the R6. Why? Because for them, the ride is worth every penny. But even with all of that, riders still chase it because of one final truth. It's a legend that will never die. The Yamaha R6 isn't just a motorcycle, it's an icon. A machine that didn't just join the 600cc supersport category, it redefined it. For over 2 decades, it showed the world what precision, engineering, and pure racing DNA could create. While other bikes tried to balance comfort and performance, the R6 unapologetically leaned into speed, agility, and control. That's what made it different. And that's why riders still talk about it with reverence. It became more than a bike. It became a rite of passage. For countless riders, owning an R6 wasn't just about transportation. It was about joining a brotherhood of speed addicts and track warriors. It taught discipline to those who could tame it, punished those who couldn't, and rewarded the ones brave enough to chase that screaming red line. It was a teacher, a challenger, and a partner all at once. On the racetrack, the R6 became a weapon of choice, dominating championships and proving its worth against the best in the world. In the streets, its silhouette alone demanded respect. Even parked, it looked fast enough to outrun anything. And then there's that sound, that high-pitched wail that cuts through mountains, tunnels, and city streets like a siren song. To this day, nothing else quite matches it. The R6 may be gone from production, but it will never be gone from motorcycling's heart. The truth about the Yamaha R6 is simple. It's not the most practical, it's not the most forgiving, and it's definitely not the cheapest. But it is, without question, one of the most legendary motorcycles ever built. And if you're lucky enough to own one, you don't just ride it, you become part of its story. So should you get one? That's up to you. But Japan has so much more to offer when it comes to legendary bikes. I had to make a full video on why they are simply the best at making them. If you want to watch that next, make sure to click on screen now. Or you can find out what level of motorcycle rider you are by clicking on the video next to it.